All right, so did Phoenix actually do a very good job with this Loid Forger 1/7 scale from Spy Family? And the answer to that question is yeah, they actually did do a decent job. But before I get into the reasons why Phoenix actually did a decent job with this scale figure of Loid Forger, we are going to unbox this figure first. This came out in mid-February, and I received this figure from Good Smile US on April 11th. So about 2 months out from the Japanese release date. So when it comes to some companies like Fruity with their Phoenix scale figures, it's kind of bleh. But in this case right here, I think we have something that's actually pretty decent. But before I continue any further, do me a favor guys, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Check out my blog at otakusin.com. Check out my anime channel, Otakusin How to Anime. Join my Discord and all that other good stuff. And yes, let's just go ahead and unbox this figure. Here is the box from Good Smile US. It actually came in pretty good shape. So let's open this. You can see just how heavily wrapped this box is. Alright, here is the box for Loid Forger 1/7 scale from Phoenix Fruity. There's nothing that really sticks out about their box. It stays on theme with the light green soup of Loid Forger. This is as basic of a scale figure box that we can typically get. You just have the images of Loid Forger on the box, of the figure on the box. You just have these simple labels of the company, Fruity, Phoenix. Other than that, guys, Phoenix boxes aren't really that like eye-popping or anything like that. I know the Shibuya Scramble E-Stream, their boxes aren't that great either. You pay a pretty premium prices for their scales. I just wish like they put a little bit more effort into their presentation of the box. But as far as like what they did here, I mean, it's standard. It is actually pretty standard for what we get. For the quality of the box, how it came in, Good Smile US, how they packaged it, they wrapped the crap out of this box. So you have all this paper wrapper on it, and you have the plastic wrap around the figure box. So on the box, there are like kind of like these fingernail dents. And what I mean by that is like, it looks like there's dents where like people put their finger and like dig a dent through it. There's a couple spots like that, but other than that, this box turned out to be pretty good quality. So yeah, that is pretty much it for this box. Let's just go ahead and just unbox this. Inside the box, you still have the light green colored theme inside the box, and you see how it says Loid Forger right there. All right, you got a separate base. It looks like Loid comes in like inside of a bag. I usually don't see that. So we're just gonna go ahead and put him on the pegs. So it didn't really come with any instructions, but I mean, it's pretty obvious what you need to do. So I will say this about Phoenix. So I didn't have any trouble putting on these pegs. It fit pretty nicely and snug. And quite honestly, if you guys really need a visual for how you put in the gun, the box itself will kind of have an image of it. As you can see, you could probably push in the gun without really prying his fingers open. But if you just pull just a little bit, don't go too hard in the paint on this. Like any other figure, if you guys have any other figures, you kind of just have to shove it in there. Most of the time it fits. Some of the times with some figures, sometimes it could be too big, too small, and you kind of have to finesse your way around a little bit. But this one was relatively easy. So that is it with the assembly, just the pegs and put the gun in his hand, and that is it. All right, guys, let's talk about this Loid Forger 1/7 scale. First of all, guys, it's a 1/7 scale, but it's a pretty big size 1/7 scale. He's actually more of like 11 inches and like a third. Yeah, he's actually a pretty massive figure. And what I paid for him was $147.01 off of Good Smile US. The Japanese prices online was around probably 16K. On AmiAmi, he was listed at 17,600 yen. So the prices there, they kind of range between maybe like 116 bucks, 131 bucks, but that is before shipping. So even if you did boat shipping, I'm assuming you're still paying an extra like 15 bucks, 20 bucks. Even if you had the 2K yen, you're still paying like roughly the same as what you get off of Good Smile US. And if you're able to get it off of Good Smile Global, Good Smile Shop, I'm sure the prices are going to be very, very similar as well. I mean, the US wise, but the Japanese price wise, it's going to be very, very similar. So whether you're saving money or, you know, paying a little bit more, it just kind of depends, but you're ranging around that $140 to $160 range. Like what I keep harping on, when you buy from Japan, you could get it first, but sometimes you're served a plate of crap, and those are situations we as collectors don't really want to be in. But in this case, you know how many times, guys, that we take a crap on Finex. You know, this is my third Finex figure. And honestly, the last two, the Mappa Gojo, you know, Throne one, there's the Rimuru Tempest, the Throne one. Those ones actually came out to be, you know, decent. Like, they're not actually that bad of figures. It's just recently, a lot of their figures from Finex, their designs and their prototype pictures have been very, very subpar. The sculpting of the faces, the paint, everything about it looks bad, and you throw it on top of it, like, they have these overpriced, you know, numbers on these scale figures. So that'll be a whole video in itself talking about Finex figures. But for this video, the sculpting, let's just talk about the sculpting of Loid. The sculpting of this figure actually turned out to be generally pretty good. When you look at the pictures online, it's kind of hard, especially with the lighting, to get a good idea if it looks good or not. But I think in this case of this Loid Forger sculpt, if you look at his face and you look at it like straight at him, you know, it's always hard to kind of tell with the nose. But if you look at any other angle of Loid, like, this is a pretty decent like sculpt face of Loid. Let's look at like the hair of him. The hair sculpt actually in the front actually looks pretty good. On the back of his hair, that is where it's, you know, there's some clumpiness to the back of his hair, but they almost did a really good job on the back. I kind of liked how they shaped his hair. The shape is actually really good. It's just some spots on the back, they kind of just messed up. It's not smoothed out all the way, but in general, it's you know, it's decent. And if you just looked at the entirety of his body, of how he's posed, it looks great. There's good detail of how his body looks. You know, he's a slender framed guy. Of course, he's a spy. He got to be nimble. So you kind of get that vibe out of this figure. And really, it's just the very, very, you know, zoomed in parts. Like, there's some of the pockets on the side of the pocket of his jacket. On the back, the line down his back of his jacket. It's those little parts, and maybe some parts in the front of his jacket where the lines are a little bit off. You could tell that, you know, there's two kind of separate lines that there's kind of supposed to meet. It's supposed to be one line across, but they kind of messed up a little bit. But that's like very, very detailed problems. As in general, kind of sculpt in just those little details about the body, it's not bad at all. Like, this is a decent job. This is a good job. You know, I guess I could say it's a good job for what they've done here. And especially for the price. The price always matters, right? For 147 bucks, like, this is good. This is good. And especially for being like the only real Loid Forger scale, you know, this is something I can accept for the sculpting. So let's talk about the painting. A lot of people, they're worried about how they paint these figures. And I think the shading, there's actually a ton of shading on this figure, guys. Guys, when you just look at like the pictures of the prototype pictures, the lighting, there's just a little bit too much lighting in the prototype pictures. But when you actually get this in person, the paint colors are actually quite a bit different. It's hard to tell sometimes. Like I don't understand like photography or anything like that. But just in terms of just looking at the picture and taking it, at face value, and looking at my figure of what I have right now and taking it at face value, the colors are quite a bit different. And for what I've received in person, like I'm pretty okay with it. In the pictures, it's hard to tell that there's shading in it, but when the one that I have, there's clearly different colors of shade of light green to dark green on his body, and I like it. I actually like it, guys. I think just the prototype pictures in general, they made it too bright and they made it kind of have like this glowy, glossy look. But the in-person figure itself, if you guys are getting it or ever deciding on it, I think most people have a generally negative view of Finex. At least I do right now. Like I love to dunk on them because it's just very easy to, because you could clearly just look at what they've been releasing lately, combine it with it being overpriced. It's just very easy to talk crap about them. But this Loid Forger one, this painting is actually pretty damn good. It's pretty good. I mean, the only kind of real defect for paint little speckles, like there's one maybe on the white collar shirt right down the middle, just maybe a green little spot if you just zoomed in there. Maybe around his hand collar, I think I saw a little green dot there as well. But other than that, I didn't really see any other major or even minor paint errors where it's there's something that's there that's not supposed to be. So they did a pretty good job there as well. So you put those two things together of the scope in the painting, if that all turned out to be pretty good, decent to pretty good. The design of Loid Forger, what did they go with? They went with the spy theme. I mean, he's a freaking spy, so he's supposed to go along with the other Anya figure and the Your Forger figure. So when we put those together, you have the spy family. Loid, with gloves in his hands and the gun in his hand, it makes sense. This is actually, something towards what I would think of Loid and what I would want out of a Loid Forger figure. But given that I've said all these positive things about this Finex Loid, does that make me want to go out of my way to go get the Anya one and get the Your Finex? No, it doesn't. Because those ones heavily, I lean on the face, and this one, like at certain angles, at certain pictures that people took after the release, I was actually pretty okay with it. Like I couldn't convince myself heavily to be like, no, like I was real close to canceling this order, but I kind of feel pretty good that I didn't, like, because this actually turned out to be a decent one here. This is a decent scale of Loid, and it's a guy figure. We don't get guy scale figures that often, so I'm pretty happy with it. In a 1/7 scale, he's pretty damn big. Compare that to the last video I did with the Maki Art FXJ, the 1/8 scale. He's definitely bigger. And then when you throw in the paint quality, the shading, and how they did on this Loid, I could honestly say, they did a little bit more with this Loid compared to that Maki Art FXJ. But then again, that Maki figure is what I spent $124. So for this Loid, I paid an extra a little bit over $20 for this one, but it is a 1/7 scale. It is bigger. If Finex makes more figures more closer to that price point, I think they'll do a lot better and change a lot of people's minds. But they're competing with these other super premium price, figures, and it just ends up costing too much. Like there's two things that need to happen, right? It needs to be, properly priced that people could feel generally comfortable with, and or like it just has to be, good quality. Like something could still end up being good quality and they overcharge you for it. Or you can't like have a crappy looking figure and overcharge us for that. It has to be like one of the two. Like it has to be lower price and being like somewhat okay figure, or it has to be a very good looking figure, even though we're paying a little bit more. So at least the figure itself turns out to be, still good quality. So all in all, guys, as much as we've been dunking on Finex, this Loid Forger figure is actually, it's a good one. And it might end up being the only scale, or maybe they'll come out with like a couple other ones. But as of right now, maybe Good Smile Company might come out with their own Loid Forger scale. Who knows? But I can honestly say, I recommend getting this. If you guys like Loid, you want a scale figure of Loid Forger, this one is actually a good choice. Very, very affordable. And, I'm quite honestly quite surprised, but I shouldn't be that surprised because Finex can do a decent job with the scale. It's just recently, in this past like year and a half, a lot of what's coming out, it's been very, very subpar. It's very, very underwhelming. But this one will actually sneak up on you a little bit. The price is lower, right? You have 16K, 17K yen, which that is not much at all. And the quality of this is definitely way better than what a prize figure quality would be. There's a little bit of spots here and there, like the back of the hair, maybe a paint speckle here or there, or even like the lining on his body in some parts are not like, it's not on point. But in general, as a figure, this is something that I could stomach. You could at least stomach getting this Loid Forger figure. And, I've looked at some of the comments of what people said on my figure collection, and it turned out to be, it's actually not very negative at all. And I think, I'm along that sentiment right now. This is a good scale figure of Loid Forger. Very, very unexpected. So that's kind of what happens when you, release a lot of, not so great figures and you actually get one that's decent. This kind of will change your mind a little bit. But yeah, I hope this review helps people make their decisions. I'm pretty sure there's going to be ample opportunity to get this Loid Forger scale throughout the whole year. There's a movie coming at the end of the year, so maybe they'll probably release more figures to hype up that movie as well. But other than that, guys, just let me know what you guys think in general about the figure, about purchasing this, the price, all that good stuff, and Finex. At some point, I want to make a video about Finex. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. Do me a favor, guys, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Check out my blog at otakusen.com. Check out my anime channel, Otakusen, How to Anime. And yeah, join the Discord if you guys want to talk anime figures or anime or manga in general. Yeah, I appreciate you guys watching. It's your boy Otakusen. This is an unboxing video of the 1/7 scale Finex of Loid Forger off of Spy Family. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video.